Have you ever wondered what kind of equipment you need to make the most beautiful music that you can? To prove it to you, I've traveled to Tuscany, Italy, and I brought only these 3 things to show you it's totally possible to create beautiful music from anywhere. So in this video, I'm going to show you what these 3 things are, how to use them, and where to find them, and a tip to write beautiful songs you may not know have existed inside of you. Plus, at the end of the video, I'm going to show you the song that I actually created here in Italy. But first, are these pieces of equipment going to cost you an arm and a leg, or can you just buy the cheaper versions so you can actually save your money and maybe take your wife out on a date? Which might not be such a bad idea. When I first started learning how to play the guitar, I could never tell the difference between a Martin or a Gibson. Try even asking me to feel the difference in string gauge. Not a chance. I was a beginner and I wasn't going to spend my life savings on a Gibson J45 if I thought my no-name acoustic sounded just as good. As I got better, I realized the benefits that come with more expensive equipment. So now, spending a bit more money makes sense. So buy things that are not only within your financial means, but are within your level of skill too. And as your skill set improves, so will your equipment. So now you know how you should spend your money on equipment, but what's the first thing you actually need? So I am in Italy, and as I sip on my delicious beverage here, I realize it's utterly impossible to make wine without grapes. Without them, I'd just be drinking sugar water. And hey, I like sugar just like anyone else, but you can't just remove the main ingredient from something and hope that it just tastes as good. And when we create songs, you can't just remove the instruments and hope that the music is just going to sound as good too. So your music creation tool can be anything. It doesn't have to be just a specific instrument. For me, my music creation tool is the guitar, and it's what I'll be using this week as I write in Italy. You might play piano, or you might even be a desk tapper. That's a good point to mention. What do you do if you don't play an instrument? Well, your music creation tool could be your voice. You could use loops or virtual instruments too. For example, there are hundreds of free Apple loops that you can use to start a song in Logic Pro. For instance, did you know that the song Umbrella by Rihanna was actually started with a Logic Pro loop? So my wine is tasting much better now that I've added the grapes back in, and I got my guitar here and I'm ready to create something. So now that you know the first thing you need is a music creation tool, what's the second thing you need? Well, this wine is a Chianti, and it's made from grapes around this region, which I'm kind of just getting to know throughout this trip. But if I was to drink a Malbec or a Merlot, I'm going to be drinking totally different grapes from totally different regions. Some wines are sweet, some are sour, others are dry or fruity. The differences in wines are similar to songs. There can be fast songs, slow songs, songs with short melodies, songs with long melodies, songs with complicated chord progressions, or jazzy ones too, songs with lyrics or no lyrics. Your music brain and your choice of melody, lyrics, chords, and rhythm will have an enormous impact on the quality of your song. As I sip on delicious drinks in Tuscany, Italy, I doubt that I'll be writing a sad song. On the other hand, if I'm sad and I just broke up with my girlfriend and I'm in a dark, lonely place, that's going to produce something different. So if you want to write different songs, change up your music brain, which has to do with the choice of your environment, but also your choice of melody, lyrics, chords, and rhythm. Okay, now we have our music creation tool, which is my guitar, and my music brain, which is ready for action. What's the third thing? So if you want to take all these delicious Italian grapes and make them into wine, you can't do that without pressing all these grapes down and putting them into bottles. Of course, there are many other tools you use to make wine, but the press and the bottle are the main ones. And I also say this with no confidence at all because I am a wine drinker and not a wine maker. That's nice. But just like the press and bottle with wine, I'm going to need to capture the audio so I can record this song and share it with others. So I brought with me my Shure SM7B microphone and the Apogee One audio interface. I also brought with me a decent pair of headphones so I could monitor what I was making. Now, there's an argument that stepping on your grapes can actually make delicious wine too, and sometimes you can get away with decent recordings on an iPhone, but I prefer my wine to be crushed by professional machines, much like my audio recordings. If you're wondering what kind of audio capture equipment you should get, remember, get something within your financial means, but also within your level of skill too. If you can dish out $500, think about getting the Shure SM7B microphone, which is a great studio workhorse. I'll be using it this week to record guitar and vocals for the song I'm working on. For interfaces, don't overcomplicate things. You don't need an 8-channel audio interface if you're only ever going to be recording one thing at a time. This week, I'm going to be using the Apogee One, a simple interface, but with a great sound card. However, I'll always choose a better guitar performance over a better audio interface. In a perfect world, you'd have both, but a great sound card is never going to fix a bad performance. Okay, now you know you need these 3 music things. So what's the song I created this week using these 3 things? And what's the bonus tip on creating songs that you never thought you could? Well, here's a little snippet of the song I wrote this week, and after it, I'm going to show you a cheat code to creating chord progressions really fast.
expat with a cigarette. New day hasn't happened yet. Run free through the cypress trees down in Tuscany. Burnt out but the flames run wild. Best friends with my inner child. Back to what I used to do. I wandered through the path I knew, but never thought I'd roam. Give me that homegrown right around the corner. Give me that seaside riding by the way. Giving up my life for a new beginning. Gotta leave so I can be with yesterday.
If you're familiar with my voice, you'll notice that wasn't me singing. It was a friend of mine. His name is Adam Wendler, and we co-wrote this song in Italy this week. Co-writing is a really productive technique to write songs that you could never do alone. It's a fact. You bring your ideas to the table, and so does the other person, and together, you make something that you could never do yourself. On top of this, co-writing can make you a better writer too, because you're always going to leave the session learning something new, whether that's good or bad. Now that you know the 3 things you need to create beautiful music, you actually need to start creating it now. This is why you need to watch this video right here, which shows you 5 epic chord progressions to create 5 emotionally packed songs. And I'll show you how to create them even if you're just a beginner and you have no musical theory knowledge whatsoever.